Thank you and welcome to a School News Nationwide special presentation. On Monday, April 8th, School News Nationwide and its Words of Bonds project honored 6 million Jews, including 1.5 million children who were murdered during the Holocaust. The event was coordinated by Bill Tingling, CEO of School News Nationwide, who has worked tirelessly to honor the memories of those who perished and to educate students of the atrocities of hate. The event was held at the Peter Norton Symphony Space in Manhattan. The movie Defiance, starring James Bond's Daniel Craig, was part of the tribute. It tells the story of Tuvia, Zeus, and Asael Bielski, three brothers who established a large partisan camp in the forests of Belarus during World War II and so saved 1,200 Jews from the Nazis. Zeus's son, Zvi Bielski, was also present, and later we will watch as he shares some of his father's experiences. Also sharing some of her experiences was Sally Freischberg, a Holocaust survivor.
The night's event began with moderator Israel Friedman.
Yom HaShoah v'Hagvura is how the people in the concentration camp helped each other, even under the threat of death. When my father died at age 91, as I walked into the funeral that was in a synagogue, all of a sudden, for the first time, I really understood my father's pain. I looked out, and there were 300 people who were there for me and my two sisters. And I thought about my father, who had lost his parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, brothers, sisters. And he had no one. He never had anyone there to help him mourn. He never had the chance to mourn his colossal loss. There was no time, no place, no people with whom to mourn with. And yet, he had the courage to build a new life. In September, a friend called me and told me about an organization that arranges for Holocaust survivors to speak to students in public and private schools in an effort to combat bullying and hate crimes. She asked me to volunteer and work with this organization. I could not say no, and that is why I'm standing here in front of you today. Since 2007, Bill Tingling and his organization, School News Nationwide, Words of Bonds Project, has been doing this work. I could introduce Bill in a few words, but it takes many. Bill Tingling is president of School News Nationwide Words of Bonds Project, where he, along with African American seniors, Jewish Holocaust survivors, and a roster of distinguished educators, visit schools, civic arenas, and educational institutions to demonstrate the importance of tolerance. Through the highly respected New York-based School News Nationwide, Mr. Tingling uses media tools to educate, influence, and empower American youth to create documentaries, TV and radio shows, publish newspapers and magazines, recording and passing on the valuable information they gather. He is a member of Friends of Israel and works particularly closely with Rabbi Grossman of Migdal Or, Israel's Goodwill Ambassador Tal Brody, and Maccabiah Electric, Israel's equivalent of the American National Basketball Association. For his work, Mr. Tingling has been honored with the highest New York State Task Award for his Holocaust Words of Bond project, as well as awards from congressmen, state senators, borough presidents, Hadassah, schools, and other organizations. The Jewish Holocaust survivor community has proclaimed Mr. Tingling as a man with enthusiasm and vigor. to whom they have passed the baton of carrying the message of tolerance. His mentor is Dr. A.R. Bernard, a world-renowned educator and influential leader who many regard as a Martin Luther King of this era. Bill Tinglin.
Thank you so very much. Good evening, everyone. It is certainly a pleasure to be here. As you all know, my name is Bill Tinglin, and I'm the president of School News Nationwide, an organization that works in educating, influencing, and empowering our nation's youth with essential tools to achieve academic and social excellence. Our partners are Holocaust survivors, museums, schools, universities, local police precincts, all in the field of helping the American youth becoming productive, constructive members of society. The program nurtures active learning in the area of tolerance, improving the students' academic skills through technology and gaining wisdom from seniors and Holocaust survivors. The Holocaust took place 70 years ago, and we are fortunate to have Holocaust survivors to share their stories with today's youth. We take Holocaust survivors to schools, civic arenas, and places of worship to talk about tolerance and the importance of the acceptance of others. Unfortunately, according to the New York State Divisions of Criminal Justice, hate crime across New York State jumped 14%, led by an increase in attacks on Jews, Jewish institutions, and other ethnic groups. The report found that nearly a quarter of all attacks were carried out by 2 or more people. More than 7% were carried out by 4 or more people. Also, 31% of all known offenders were aged 24 or younger, and 12.2% of all known offenders were women. To help combat these hate crimes, the School News Nationwide organization developed a first-of-its-kind documentary project titled Words of Bonds. One of the objectives documentaries produced by youth throughout New York City is to examine the incredible destructive events of the Holocaust, bullying, and hate crimes of today. The students interview Holocaust survivors, hearing their stories, and thereafter applying compiled ideas and constructive means to combat and prevent hate crimes. What made us think of such a project, one may ask? The School News Nationwide organization took a poll and asked many students and people different questions about the Holocaust. Some of these questions included, when did the Holocaust begin? What does the word Holocaust mean? What is bullying? What happens when others stand by and watch hate crimes take place? What were extermination camps? What are they? Many of them could not answer these questions, and I believe that it's this ignorance that yields problems that we face now and will face in the future. If we cannot retell stories of the past, we are destined to repeat similar atrocities later on. Many people, on the other hand, could answer these questions, but could not give an accurate answer as to why the Holocaust began, which I think is very important to know. Allow me to share some history with you for a short period of time. After Germany was defeated in World War I, Adolf Hitler led the Nazis and focused on ethnic people, particularly the Jews, as a source for German ills, one may say. In 1933, the Jewish population of Europe stood at over 9 million people. The Nazis used propaganda and pseudo-scientific ideas in their propaganda to build a popular support for racist policies. To spread their racist ideas, the Nazis focused their attention on German youth. Unfortunately, one may say, Anti-Semitism did not end with the defeat of the Nazis in 1945. There have been other hate groups that have developed, which include the KKK, which upholds the anti-Semite beliefs and practice of Holocaust denial. Perez, an 89-year-old Nobel Peace Prize laureate, linked the Nazis' genocide to Iran's suspected drive to acquire nuclear bombs, and its leaders' repeated references to the destruction of a people and Israel, and its denial of the Holocaust. The civilized world must ask itself how it is all possible for leadership like that of Iran to openly deny the Holocaust and threaten another Holocaust. Those who ignore the threat of Holocaust against one nation must know that the threat of a Holocaust against one nation is a threat of a Holocaust against all nations. The 1,000 youth that graduate from our school, News Nationwide Words of Bonds program, are making a difference. Many are teachers, lawyers, community leaders, police officers, educators, and people of influence. So with your financial help, guidance, and influence, we will continue to use the principle that when we positively educate one person, that one person can educate 1,000 people, and that 1,000 people can educate and influence 10,000 people. We have changed since the Holocaust are the determination and the ability to educate, influence, and empower others, to stand up and to say no destructive ideas and injustice, but to make decisions that will help others to become constructive asset to society and not tyrants that is filled with guile and hate and destructive ideas. Thank you so very much for coming. Thank you so very much for coming.
And a child of survivors. She is author of How to Spot One of Us, poems about her family and the Holocaust. Her work has appeared in a wide variety of journals and on websites. She is currently producing Behold, Poems of the Holocaust, Then and Now, with Richard Crowling, the two-time Emmy Award-winning director. Behold is a performance film that will feature poets, actors, survivors, and musicians. Janet is a teaching fellow at CLAW, the National Jewish Center for Learning and Leadership. Janet R. Kirshheim.
How I Knew and When. Age 8. My father hangs upside down on a pipe that was part of a fence that separated our street from the next. All of his change falls from his pockets. He looks so young. Age 15. There were 104 girls in the Israelitisch Mädches Weeshuis orphanage in Amsterdam. 4 survived, my mother says. I remember Jufrau Frank, the head mistress. She made us drink cod liver oil each morning. She said it was healthy for us. Age 17. My father tells me his father and sister Ruth got out of Germany and went to Rotterdam. They were supposed to leave on May 11th, 1940, for America. The Nazis invaded on May 10th. Age 21. My mother tells me Tante Amalia told her that on the Queen Elizabeth to America in 1947, after she and Uncle David were released from an internment camp on the Isle of Man, she was so hungry she ate 12 rolls each day at breakfast. She said it was the best time she ever had. Age 24. My father tells me Otto Reis got out of Germany in 1941. He took a train to Moscow, a Trans-Siberian Railroad to Vladivostok, a boat to Shanghai, a boat to Yokohama, a boat to San Francisco, and a bus to Philadelphia. His wife and 3 sons staying behind. Carola Stein signed affidavits for them, but the government said she didn't make enough money. Age 31. My mother's cousin refuses to accept money that a rich woman left him. He says the money has too much blood on it. My mother tells me that in 1939, her cousin had asked this woman to sign affidavits for his wife and 2 daughters. She said no. Age 33. My father asks me to dial the number. His hands shake. He asks my cousin Judy if she wants to send her 3 children out of Israel during the Gulf War. She says she can't let them go. Age 42. A waiter in a Jerusalem hotel tells my father he should come to live in Israel because it's home. My father tells him home is anywhere they let you in.
Each year, we light 6 candles in memory of the 6 million Jews who were murdered in the Holocaust. This year, because of rules of the fire department, we're not allowed to have open flame. We're going to use electric candles, and I'd like to call on 6 people to place these candles on the table here. Jill Chase.
During a moment of silence, we witnessed a mix of volunteers and Holocaust survivors present 6 lighted electric candles in remembrance of the 6 million Jews who were murdered. One by one, they gathered to show their respect.
I'd now like to call upon 2 people to come up to the stage. The first person is Sally Frischberg. Sally was born in Poland and was hidden by a Catholic friend of the family. The other person is Zvi Bielski.
When we finally were found by my mother's young Polish Catholic friend, who, discovering that we are hiding in haystacks in the farms around where we used to live, went looking for us and found us. When he first found us, he said, "You're in trouble and I'm going to try and help." His idea of help then in the beginning was that he would be our eyes and ears, that he would watch the developments and come every night to whatever place he sent us to report to us and to make plans with us together to keep us safe. And he did as he promised. But time passes on very quickly, and before long, this was not enough because it was chilly and rainy, and we were at that point 4 adults with 4 and 3, 7 children. I was the oldest of the 7 children. I was 8 years old, and those living conditions were not very inviting. So my mother pleaded with him to build us a shelter, which he could not do. He didn't have the means. He had to observe a curfew, be in his house from sunset to sunrise, and he just couldn't cope with that whole idea. He said to us, "I haven't got a nail, a piece of wood, a hammer. It's all been taken away from me. How am I to build a shelter?" But my mother continued her pleas. She had nowhere else to go with her problems, and eventually he admitted that were it not for the fact that his wife was so frightened that every night when he left to go visit with us, she cried and kissed him goodbye, thinking she'll never see him again. My mother realized that were it not for the fact that he doesn't want to hurt his wife any more than she was hurt, he would do something. He would put his creative mind to work and create some kind of safety net for us. And so she continued to beg, and then she sweetened the pie a little bit. She said to him, "Stasha, I want you to know that my sister-in-law and I have jewelry in the hems of our skirts. My husband has dollars that he received from his brothers in America. My mother promised to give all the dollars and all the jewelry to his wife. And the deal was made. She agreed to do what she could."
Hi everybody, I'd first like to thank everybody for coming to see the movie Defiance, which is the story of my family. Obviously, I'm in a difficult situation following Israel speak, Bill speak, and now Sally. So it's going to be very difficult, but I'm going to try the best that I can. Bill is the one who invited me, actually. Well, it wasn't really an invitation. He actually grabbed my hand somewhere and said, "You're coming to an event at this day and day, so I'm here." That's how I got here. Two memories. The first thing that I can remember as a child, besides seeing my father in the backyard with scars across his body, which you'll see in the movie, is that there were always 50 or 60 people at our house on an afternoon in a barbecue, and I thought everybody was a relative, an uncle, an aunt, or a cousin. As the years went on, I began to find out that none of them were related to me at all. It wasn't even close. They were just people that the Belskis had saved during the war. That's one memory. And another memory is I remember, well, I don't know if I should say this, there was a lot of vodka flying around the house on weekends. And a lot of singing and a lot of dancing all the time. And, you know, I just thought that was natural. Finally, I had met some Jewish friends when I was 11 or 12, and I went to their house, and it was very quiet and very solemn. It was completely different. In our house, my mother would say, "Oh, just bring all the kids over." And then the guerrilla fighters would come over, and my dad's bodyguards, and they'd be singing and dancing and all kind of crazy stuff going on that might not be appropriate right now. Well, one second. Sir, are you taking my picture? Could you take me straight? Because if you take me sideways, I look a little bit too fat. Do you mind? I'm single. I like, you know. All right. I'm sorry about that interruption. Actually, just while I'm on the mic, because he's going to try to get me off as quick as he can, the movie Defiance is actually a true story. The family did not agree to do the movie earlier because they tried to change the story around. Actually, in Hollywood, I was there for the filming. When they make a movie, they attempt to exaggerate the story. In this movie, they did the complete opposite. Another thing that I remember about my family, as you were asking me, is that the Belskis left the woods with approximately 1,263 people and another 300 people that followed them, plus about 100 orphans that they left that they picked up after the war. Today's descendants number well over 25,000 people that are alive today. Wait, don't applaud yet, I'm not even close. Another minute. What's really funny is the other day, I don't know, I was watching TV, this Trump show, I was going to say Trump character, but Trump show, and he has a daughter with blonde hair. I forgot her name.
Ivanka.
Who? Ivanka Mazel Tov. And Ivanka is married to a kid named Kushner, which is one of the wealthiest families in the country. And the Belsky saved the entire Kushner family, 17 of them during World War II. So when you see the movie today, you're only going to see part of the story. But understand, as you look around the room right now, everyone in this room would have been welcome to the Belsky group. They would have asked, is there a doctor? Are there any doctors here? Somebody make believe you're a doctor? Make believe. Welcome, we need doctors. Is there a nurse here? We'd have welcomed a nurse. Does anybody think they know how to cook? They would have welcomed you. Does anyone think they know how to dance? They would have welcomed you to help dance. Are there any accountants in here? Does anybody know an accountant? Raise your hand, help me. They would have told you to change occupations because they had no reasons for occupants. But all in all, this is a true story. If anything, it's under-exaggerated. There were many other Jews that fought that are unknown. You know, Nazis came to the door, a father came with a knife, he was killed. No one knows the story. The Belskys are known. There's books, documentaries since 1945. The reason it wasn't publicized is because I didn't get a chance to tell the story, but really the family just wanted to leave the story alone. Our pride were in the survivors. When we were invited to a bar mitzvah or to a wedding, or as Israel said to me, what a pleasure it is to meet Yitzri. I know you won't hog the mic tonight.
Thank you so much for watching, and we do sincerely hope that you will help us honor the memory of those who were murdered and to prevent any such atrocities from ever happening again. To learn more about School News Nationwide and our Words of Bonds project, please visit us at www.schoolnewsnationwide.org. Sadly, 5 days after this event, Zvi Bielski passed away. He was 60 years old.